When you start your yoga practice, generally you start with standing poses and then you go to the floor. So this is mountain pose. This is your basic yoga pose, standing pose, and you want to be here for 1 to 2 minutes, slowing down your breath, getting centered and ready for your yoga practice. I'll show you from the side how mountain pose looks. In this posture, as well as other standing postures, you always want to make sure your tailbone is tucked under to lengthen your lower back. Your core muscles or your belly is engaged and pulled in, and your collarbones lengthened, as well as your shoulder blades pulled down the back to open up your chest. And again, staying here for about a minute or two to get your breath slowed down and your mind ready for your practice. So the next posture is called Warrior Two. This posture you can enter from mountain pose. Just turn to the side, separate your feet nice and wide so the ankles are underneath of the wrists, and bend through the front leg. In this case, it's the right leg. You want to bend your knee far. Just make sure that the knee doesn't go too far over the ankle so the shin is nicely perpendicular to the floor. So in this posture, we're still working on our core as well as opening up our chest by our arms stretching forward and back. Keep all the muscles in the arms engaged, reaching forward and back, and allowing that right knee to stay right over the ankle, opening up the hip. Stay here for about 10 breaths and then do the other side. To modify the pose, you can simply just come out of it a little bit so your knee isn't bent so far forward. Over time, as your hip opens and your leg strength increases, you can bend your knee more. Okay, from Warrior Two, we'll go to a complementary posture called Reverse Warrior. Keep your front leg bent and your back leg straight, and simply reach back and touch your left leg with your left hand and reach up, straight up into the air with your right arm. You want to keep your right leg bent with the knee over the ankle and looking up at your right thumb. This posture is a nice stretch for the side of the body as well as opening up of the chest. It also keeps strengthening the legs so you can build up strength in the legs as well as opening the lower back and the hip over time and practice. Stay in Reverse Warrior for 10 breaths and then do the other side. The next posture is Triangle Pose. You can enter this pose from Warrior Two with the right leg forward and the left leg back. Simply straighten the right leg, nice and straight, and then reach as far as you can with the right hand to lengthen the side of the body and touch the right shin. If that's too far for you, for your flexibility, you can touch your knee or your thigh. Reach up to the sky with your left hand and turn your gaze to the left thumb. This is a really nice stretch for the backs of the legs and is a mild twist for the spine. So this helps to release any stress in the spine, lengthen the lower back, and again, opening up the chest and stretching the tissues there. This is also a nice stretch for the neck and upper shoulders, releasing any tension. Triangle you can hold for 10 to 15 breaths, and when you're ready, do it on the other side. The next pose is wide-legged forward stretch, or Prasarita Padottanasana in Sanskrit. Step your legs nice and wide apart, your ankles probably about under your wrists if your arms are stretched apart. Place your hands on your hips, pulling your belly, and slowly fold forward to the floor. Now, if you cannot touch the floor with your legs straight, that's no problem. Just bend your knees. Always bend your knees as much as you need to touch the floor. And if the floor is still far away from you, just widen your stance. So bring your feet more further apart. This posture is great for stretching out the spine because it's hanging in the opposite direction. So a lot of relief for your lower back. When you're in this posture, just let your spine hang forward with the belly pulled in to protect the spine. Let your head go, and over time your legs will straighten as you lift your hips up to the sky. A modification you can do is to grab your ankles or the sides of the feet for a deeper stretch, or just stay in this position with your hands on the floor. Stay in this pose for about 10 breaths, When you come out of the posture, make sure that you do it slowly because you are upside down. So bring your hands back to your hips, bend your knees, steady your feet, and come up slowly. The next posture is downward dog. Bring your hands and knees to the floor, and then lift your hips up into the air and straighten your legs and arms. Let your head go so you're looking towards your thighs, and slowly press your heels down to the floor. When you're starting out with this posture, you are welcome to walk out your knees to just open your hips and your back before you hold onto the posture. This pose is excellent for stretching out and strengthening the muscles along the spine. You want to remember to keep your tailbone tucked under and your shoulders down the back. Your arms are nice and long with your muscles engaged in your arms. Your fronts of the thighs are engaged as you press your heels down to the floor and your core is engaged. Over time, this will build more strength in your upper body. And in the meantime, if you're finding it's too much work, just put your knees on the floor. And over time, as you build strength in the upper body, you can take your knees off the floor and stretch back through the legs. Hold downward dog for as long as you like. I recommend about 15 to 20 breaths, and working on keeping a steady breath and your core muscles engaged. The next posture is plank pose. You can enter this posture from downward dog by just bringing your chest forward. So your chest is right over top of the line of the wrists, and the legs are straight behind you with the balls of the feet pressing into the floor. This posture is all about building strength in the body and particularly in your core muscles. So have patience with this posture. You'll be able to build your strength over time. If it's too much to hold the pose, just put your knees on the floor and there'll still be a lot of strengthening involved with the knees on the floor. When you're in the posture, whether you have the knees on the floor or the legs straight, pull in your belly and avoid having the hips sag towards the floor. You want your hips engaged, your legs engaged, and your body nice and tight and firm. Look forward, keep the neck long, and hold this pose starting from 3 breaths and build it up over time to be able to hold it for 10 to 12 breaths. A great modification to do for Cobra pose for busty ladies is to use a towel. So take a large towel and fold it and place it underneath your lower rib cage to help elevate your rib cage and your chest. From here you can enter Cobra pose more comfortably. Squeeze your legs, press the tops of the feet to the floor, bring your hands to your sides, and use your belly strength to hold yourself steady as you slowly lift your chest off the floor. Be mindful you're using your spine strength here and you're lengthening across the chest. Look straight forward and breathe, holding your chest up with little weight in your hands. It's all about spine strength. Stay here, starting for 3 breaths, and over time as you practice this posture, work up to holding it for 10 breaths. The next pose is called boat pose. From a seated position, have your knees bent and your feet on the floor. Bring your hands behind your thighs, and to start, you'll bring one leg up and hold it straight with the toes pointed in the air. When you're in boat pose, you're building your core strength. So avoid having the back slouched. You want to sit up nice and straight and engage your abdominal muscles. When you've held one leg up for about 5 breaths, change to the other leg. As you build your strength in your core, eventually you'll be able to take 2 legs off the floor, starting with bent legs, and over time you can keep both legs straight, and eventually, as your core engage, you can let go of your legs and have your arms in the air and engaged, holding this pose for about 5 to 10 breaths. The next pose and the final pose before the resting posture is called spinal twist. Always do a spinal twist before the relaxing pose at the end. With the left leg crossed over the right leg as you sit on the floor, take your right arm, grab a hold of your left knee, and then reach your left arm behind you as you look over your left shoulder. Remember to use your abdominal strength here. You want to sit up nice and tall, so avoid slouching. Stay here for about 5 breaths, and then switch to the other side. If you want to deepen the posture, simply move the hand that's behind you further behind you so you can deepen the stretch. The final pose is called corpse pose, or Shavasana in Sanskrit. This is an essential posture to do at the end of your practice because relaxation is just as important as the physically engaged postures. So when you're done your spinal twist, lie on the floor with your arms separated from your body and your legs separated from one another. Make sure your hips and your shoulders are as square as they can be today. Close your eyes, relax your belly, and just focus on the breath, taking nice long inhales for counts of 4 and long exhales, slowing down the breath. Shavasana, you want to let go completely, so relax all your muscles and let go of the body. And finally, remembering to calm the mind. You want to try to let go of any thoughts running through the mind and focusing on the breath. Stay in Shavasana for about 5 minutes, working your way up to 10 minutes at the end of every practice.